The second phase of the Control of Agricultural Pollution records come into force on the 1st of January 2023. Some farm businesses will see a minimal impact, others will need support to become compliant. The phase approach will provide time for you to prepare and make any changes needed.
All farms will be required to have a nutrient management plan in place, also known as nitrogen management plans, NMPs, and they're used to demonstrate your compliance with the regs, but it's also an important tool from a farm management point of view in terms of optimising how much nitrogen you use, which will ultimately improve crop growth, as well as reducing your reliance on what are now expensive manufactured fertilisers, and also reducing the risk of pollution. Now, within that plan, you need to show what you intend to apply in terms of fertiliser nitrogen and manure nitrogen, the dates at which you're planning to apply, and the amount and the actual product that you're planning to apply. And I say that's from both organic manures and manufactured fertiliser. It must take into account any application limits for either individual crops or the holding as in itself in its entirety. Now, the Welsh Government website do provide you with templates for recording the nitrogen management plans, but you can record those in your own paperwork, provided all the criteria are met for that plan. Copies of your nitrogen management plan should be stored for a minimum of 5 years, and you need to have them available for inspection if requested. Now, there are some exemptions for what you record for people who are low nitrogen users and are not importing any manures onto farm, and there's further information on the Welsh Government website. The import and export of manures must be recorded within 1 week, and you need to include in those records the type and the amount of livestock manure that you're moving, the date that the manure is either bought on or taken off the holding. In addition, you need nitrogen content. That can either be measured or you can use a book value for that. You need a name and address of who's receiving or who's exporting the manure, and if known, the supplier of that imported manure. In the case of exports, details of any contingencies need to be in place if that export is declined for any reason. There are obviously implications in terms of biosecurity from manure imports and exports, and you should note that the movement of manure does present a risk of spreading diseases, and therefore you should give it serious consideration to this option and weigh up the benefits against the risks. To help prevent pollution incidents and to assist in complying with the requirements of the regulation, all holdings which spread organic manures now require a risk map. This must include each field on the holding, and you need to place on those maps all surface waters, land within 10 metres of those surface waters, which will be classed as no spread zones. If you're spreading with precision spreading kit, that can come down to 6 metres. You need to mark on the maps any boreholes, springs or wells on the holding, all within 50 metres of your holding boundary. And then the land within 50 metres of those boreholes will also be a no spread zone. We need to mark areas with sandy or shallow soils and land with slopes of more than 12 degrees, which is equivalent to 20% or 1 in 5. You'll also need to mark fields with land drains, other than sealed impermeable pipes. In addition, we need suitable sites for temporary field heaps marked on the map, if this is your method of storing farmyard manure. You can also mark land that has a low runoff risk, if such land is to be used when calculating your slurry storage requirements. You can complete a risk map in any format you choose. It doesn't have to be a professional work of art, but you need to make sure that all those features are clearly marked and clearly visible. You will need to take account the features within your risk map when undertaking a field inspection and assessing if there is a risk of nitrogen getting into surface waters.
The storage of organic manure regulations come into force on the 1st of January 2023. This applies to all farmyard manure or any bedding contaminated with organic manure that must be stored. It can be stored either in a vessel. If the vessel is open, it is collecting rainwater, and that rainwater becomes contaminated and is classed as slurry. This must be then stored in a slurry store. If you can store your organic manure within a covered building, then it can be classed as FYM and no slurry is produced. If FYM is stored on an impermeable surface and not under cover, all runoff will be classed as slurry and needs to be collected within a regulatory compliant slurry store. This means the slurry store will have to provide 5 months winter storage capacity. Solid manure, which can be stacked in freestanding heaps and does not drain liquid, can be stored in a temporary field site. The site must provide an impermeable cover for all field heaps of poultry manure if no bedding or litter is mixed into it. Laying hen manure is an example of this. Temporary field sites. Organic manure can be stored in temporary field sites, but these sites must not be, firstly, located in any single position for more than 12 consecutive months, located in the same place as an earlier field heap, or one constructed within the last 2 years. They should not be stored in a field liable to flooding or becoming waterlogged, or within 50 metres of a borehole, spring or well, or within 10 metres of surface water or a land drain. Solid poultry manures that does not have any bedding material mixed into it and is stored in a temporary field site must be covered with an impermeable material, i.e. a tarpaulin. Topsoil must not be removed from the ground upon which a temporary field site is to be constructed. A temporary field site must not be located within 30 metres of a watercourse or land identified on a risk map as having an incline of greater than 12 degrees or 1 in 5. The surface area of a temporary field site must be as small as reasonably practical to minimise the leaching effect of any rainfall falling onto the heap.
So any person spreading nitrogen fertiliser must do so in as accurate manner as possible. So therefore now we're looking at slurry spreading equipment must have a low spreading trajectory that is below 4 metres from the ground, and this is to try and reduce ammonia loss and nitrogen going upwards as a gas. Spreading equipment with a trajectory of more than 4 metres from the ground may be used on land that has a low runoff risk and where the equipment has an application rate below 2 mil an hour. So you can still use the Briggs irrigators and things like that on low risk land. Now, to find out what support is available through Farming Connect, speak to your local development officer or the Farming Connect service station. And if further technical advice is required, then you can contact the Control of Agricultural Pollution Regs helpline 01974 847 000, and they should be able to help you.